Hey guys, week 5, day 1, quarantine day 21. Really past the halfway mark on the competition prep program, getting into some higher volume type of workouts. Today is a much longer day than what we've had beforehand, with some time domains that'll probably push us past that hour-and-a-half mark. So I will give you the option of splitting this up into 2 different sessions today. One that'll look like strength and conditioning 1, and then a second just conditioning workout later on with conditioning pieces 2 and 3. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but this is kind of more of what you can expect to see from week 5. It's a lot of conditioning work. The idea here is that as we get closer to what would theoretically be the competition, the thing that we can influence the most is our metabolic capacity and our endurance. So our ability to do more work is really what we're trying to up now, instead of really having any kind of focus on strength. We'll still be doing the strength work, but really in the short amount of time, the 8 weeks or so, there's not really enough time to build a significant strength base. There's still neurological adaptation, better efficiency that we do get from doing this work, but really building a strength base is something that should have been done before we even came into the competition prep program. And really this is fine tuning. That's really what we see with our snatch and our clean and jerk pieces that we're doing, with a little bit of building of high rep strength with our back squats and our front squats when we're doing the 8s and things like that we've been working on earlier. And you'll see some more of that here in this coming week, and then in a couple more following weeks before we kind of do a taper off as we approach the very end, which is what you would see in a normal competition prep program as well. We come up to very high volume of work, a lot of conditioning pieces, and then the last 2 weeks that tapers off as we try to recover our bodies before heading into the actual competition. So we'll still do that, despite the fact that we aren't going into a competition. We are still approaching the end of the competition prep program. This way, at least you'll know what it looks like to actually run through the program with an end date that is an actual competition. And then when we start back up in the gym, once all this brouhaha is over with, we'll start all over and try to run our way up into that competition whenever it may be rescheduled for, or maybe even the next competition if this one gets canceled. So that'll give us an opportunity maybe to build some more strength before then, and then come back into it a little bit better at CrossFit so that we can get even more better at CrossFit as we go through the competition prep program once again, with some different pieces and some different strategies built in there, hopefully. But for today, as I was saying, warm up, strength, just one strength piece today. Again, working on our Olympic lifts, working on efficiency in singles, as well as our technique and our form really is what we're looking for with these heavy 4s, which are really heavy singles 4 times in a short duration that we have there. Then we have conditioning 1, a bit different than what we've been looking at. We'll talk a little bit more about it, but same but different kind of from what we've been doing. And same thing with conditioning 2, and then conditioning 3 is a pure cardio piece in there. That'll be a little bit longer because that long, steady pace type of conditioning is also important for us just in general. So the longer we can go, probably the faster we can go at shorter distances. For the strength 1, every 3 minutes on the minute for 5 rounds, 4 squat snatches at 80%. So we're picking up the weight for our snatch this week once again, but it's staying at the same rep scheme. So we'll have about the same amount of reps as we've been doing. like I was saying, really our focus here is on these 4 snatches as singles. So we're dropping and resetting every single time, making sure that we're getting down into a good starting position and that we're squatting the barbell up instead of deadlifting it. So when I say that, like I want to come down here, I'm in what is more or less a squat position instead of a deadlift position. So my butt is down, below my shoulders, my chest is up, looking forward, and then when I'm coming up, my shoulders and hips are rising at the same time until I get to just above my knees. And that's when I start to sit back and scoop this barbell up, as opposed to my deadlift, where I come up here and I'm way out here with my chest in front of the barbell, and it starts to swing out here, and then I don't make contact with the barbell because it's already way out here in front of me, and I tend to windshield wiper it, or I'm jumping forward to try to get under that barbell. So if we can squat this up, we can keep the barbell close, and we can get that scooping motion, good hip contact, and bring that snatch overhead. If you don't have a barbell or you don't have the shoulder mobility necessary to do the snatch, we can go with cleans as well. Also a good option, and the same points of performance as far as squatting it up still apply. Definitely don't want to be deadlifting it up, want to be squatting it up. Unfortunately, we call this our clean or our snatch deadlift coming up to our waist, and it's kind of a misnomer. Maybe it should be called first pull or something like that. But it probably gets mistaken for our clean pulls and our snatch pulls coming up. That's what we're working on with their strength every 3 minutes on the minutes, 4 or 5 rounds. Then conditioning 1, well, hold on. So about 10 minutes for the warm up, and then by the half-hour mark, we should be done with strength 1, heading into conditioning 1. So going from 30 minutes onward to about, I would say, probably the 55-minute mark. This is not a time-governed Metcon like what we've been doing. So we've been doing AMRAP 7, 7-5-3, or 6-4-2, whatever it has been, where you're doing a set time work on this. This time we're doing rounds. So 3 rounds for each of these with 3 minutes of rest in between. This is a lot of rest, a whole hell of a lot of rest. So that this almost becomes 3 different WODs in a limited amount of time. So it's like finishing a WOD, resting for 3 minutes, starting another WOD, resting 3 minutes, and then going into that third WOD. Really what I want to see here, kind of what we do with those descending time domains for the AMRAPs is this first one, we're looking for this to be an assessment of how I am at these movements, whether I can move all of these things consistently and quickly, and how long it takes me to do each rep. It's also for you to focus on efficiency. So the sandbag clean and jerk and any facing burpee movement, like these aren't really hard movements so much as there are tips and tricks to make you more efficient and faster at moving through these. So like with our sandbag facing burpees, we want to come straight down, hands as close to the bag as possible, jump back, and then jump our feet as close as possible and pop right over that sandbag, and maybe even turn in midair as I'm doing that so I can immediately pop my feet back out. So the more efficient I am in that squat and jump back my feet and jumping my feet back in, the faster I'm going to be able to move through the sandbag facing burpees with a minimum of effort. So the more steps I have to take to get to my sandbag to jump over it, that's more effort I'm actually putting into the movement. It doesn't seem like it at the time, but it eventually takes a toll if I'm not focusing on being efficient in this movement. And then also with the sandbag clean and jerks, it doesn't seem like there's much to be said about this, but really with the sandbag clean and jerk, we need to be efficient with that as well. And that starts with how I start off with this. Like I basically start with it on my feet, handles facing up. When I pull up, I'm trying to land the sandbag on top of my fist. I want to land it on top of my fist because I can go from catching it immediately up overhead and then come back down. If I sling this up and it gets here, it's like one, I've got it basically tucked in under an elbow. It's really weird to go overhead like this with it draped down under here instead of on top of my fist where I can press up through the bag and then bring it back down to the ground. Since it is a sandbag, I would suggest dropping it to the ground from the overhead. From up here, we can drop it down to the ground and the handles will still be facing up. It's not like a barbell that's gonna bounce all over the place and roll away, and it conserves my energy if I just drop it down instead of coming back to the hips and then putting it down on my feet. Immediately step up to this, back to the top of this, and then overhead. So we're really looking for this come up and then immediately pop into the overhead with that sandbag clean and jerk. We'll do 3 rounds, 6 and 12 of this, focusing on that efficiency and figuring out what my pace needs to be. That's really the main purpose on this first one, because 3 minutes after I finish, I'm heading into a second WOD. A little bit different on the rep scheme. I would say that this is probably going to be more efficient because it's 12 sandbag clean and jerks and just 8 bar facing burpees, because the burpees are the slower movement here. We can be more efficient with the sandbag clean and jerks than we can be with our facing burpees. So we should be able to either maintain the same pace from this first 3 rounds or speed up. I really want to see if you guys can speed up on this one, and then on this final one, push past both the time on the first round and on the second round for this final one, because this is our final culminating event where we're trying to beat our rival who's next to us to the finish line, get through all those 3 rounds before they can. Not necessarily a sprint, but moving fast, moving with a purpose, and moving efficiently most of all. To be honest, I don't know how long this is going to take you guys. I haven't tested it myself. I've allotted 25 minutes for it. I think that's more than enough time to get through it, hopefully, even with those 2-3 minute rests in there. Then straight from that, well, that can be your first session if you want, cutting it off there, just doing the strength and conditioning one. But then if we're doing a second session, we have conditioning 2 and conditioning 3, or if you want to power through, this can all be done in under 2 hours, which that's our golden time frame there. You can start on conditioning 2. This is 5 by 2 rounds. So again, a little bit different than what we usually do, where you're usually doing 5 by 2 minutes, 5 by 3 minutes, with rest in between. This time, like, you are determining how long you work by how fast you can get through this. So 5 by 2 rounds, but these are very high rep movements. So you'll be doing 40 reps of each movement, the single arm devil's press, the 20 wall balls or thrusters, and then the sit-ups. So 20 each round, 2 rounds, so 40 each. We don't want to sprint through this. Again, not going out blazing fast, hair on fire, and burning ourselves out. We want to take our time. We want to be efficient in the movements, but we also want to find a pace that we can maintain and go unbroken with these movements. So it's not the guy who goes out of the gate as fast as possible, moves as fast as possible, that's going to win this. It's going to be the guy who holds on the longest, who knocks out the largest sets. The guy who goes unbroken on all of these is the one who's going to win it. Because the guy's going to go out super fast, get through round 1, and then not be able to go unbroken on round 2. And that's when we catch them, we pass them, and we win. Is because we were able to go unbroken the entire time. So this will end up being a ton of reps, doing it 5 times, 2 rounds 5 times. 200 reps of each movement is a whole hell of a lot. That's why you need to pace yourself, and you need to grind these out. Trying to go unbroken with every single one. If you can't go unbroken, let's go 12 and 8. At least try to get past that halfway mark on the number of reps. Quick rest, step back from it, 5 deep breaths, and then you're right back on it. Don't get caught staring at it, unwilling to pick up the weight, unwilling to get into the wall balls. That also means that you need to be fast in your transition. So as soon as you finish your wall balls or your thrusters, you're sitting right down and starting to pop out your sit-ups. All right. Lastly, well, I got that going from the 55-minute mark to the 85-minute mark. So just under an hour and a half for conditioning 1 and 2, and strength 1. And then conditioning 3, looking at a 20-minute AMRAP. We have 4 different cardio options available. You're going to pick 2 out of the 4, and you're going to do those 2 consistently. For most of you, it's going to end up being the run and the farmer's carry. You're not going to have a choice because you don't have a machine. But there is the 14 calorie assault air bike and the 500 meter row. None of these are meant to be sprints. Think of like your mile time. Think of if you were doing a 2K row, if you were going to be doing like a long slog on the bike. That's what we're looking for the pacing on all of these. Not sprinting, but not lollygagging either. Moving with a sense of purpose, moving quickly so that we can get through this, get our 90 seconds of rest, and then into another round. So you'll choose the 2, you'll do both of them. So if I choose my running and my farmer's carry, I'll do my 400 meter run, and I'll do my 200 meter farmer's carry, take 90 seconds, and then start over with 400 meter run, 200 meter farmer's carry, and that'll be a round each time. That's what we're looking for on week 5, day 1. This will be Tuesday's programming. I think that's pretty straightforward as far as things go. If you have any questions about anything other about the program and where we're going from here, please let me know and I'll try to get back to you.